Hey, what's up, everyone? Today I have Brady with me. Brady is a Salesforce developer and a MuleSoft developer, and we will be going over how MuleSoft consumes events via platform events. So for you that don't know, platform events is an event object in Salesforce. Very similar to like a custom object, but it actually sends an event. One of the unique features of platform events is like you could actually create Apex triggers based on your event actions. So you can do a lot for them. Their main use is for integrations and to send these events, but there's a lot of different use cases you can use events for. So I'm going to hand it over to Brady to talk more about MuleSoft, talk more about platform events, and jump into our little demo.
Cool. Let's start with the origin, right? Platform events. I really enjoy working with these. Platform events are really great for if you need some sort of near real-time response based off of some event in Salesforce. Imagine you have maybe an order that's created in Salesforce and you need it sent to an ERP and you don't want to wait for some sort of every 15 minutes kind of polling integration where it's getting queried. It needs to be happened in real time. A platform event is very useful for that. The way you get to it is just go to setup, start typing platform events, and it's right there. So a couple other considerations that I like to point out. Platform events, you do have a daily limit of 50,000 platform events. They're handled on a first in, first out basis. So it's not reset at midnight. It's reset when each platform event has hit 24 hours. So if we push through 25,000 right now, which we're not, and we push through 25,000 an hour from now, 25 are going to drop off 24 hours from now. And then the other 25 will be 25 hours from now, since we did an hour later. We already went ahead and created a platform event channel, namely Brady's event here. I'm going to go through just a couple of considerations in here. We have a published behavior that can be pretty important. You can see if you highlight over the I, it's the most recommended is to publish immediately. But the way that these two things are handled is if I generate a platform event while I'm going through a process, whether it be through Apex or through flows, it's going to generate this platform event whether or not the rest of the execution context is completed or not. What's the execution context? That's from the first before saved and the before triggered Apex all the way to the last after save and after triggered Apex. So something could fail in that execution context, but as long as that platform event came before the failure happened and we have publish immediately, the platform event is still going to happen. Then you have publish on commit. Publish after commit. This is something where, like, if there's an error in your order that you created in Salesforce, you don't want that to go to the ERP yet. It's going to keep it from publishing that platform event. It's going to fail along with every other piece that's going to fail along the process. So it's an important thing to remember. If you want to control based off of all the data being available and committed in Salesforce, you can do an after commit.
Yeah, so it's like an error handling thing, right?
Absolutely.
So like, you don't want to publish the events if we have an error. You want to make sure the full transaction is successful and then publish the event after the transaction. What about event types?
Different event types. Well, we have high volume and low volume. Everything's pretty high volume nowadays. Low volume is deprecated.
Deprecated now, yeah.
Cool. So all of our platform events are going to be high volume nowadays. And then you can also create custom fields on these platform events. It doesn't just have to be hey, an event just happened. You can also pass data. I've used this quite a bit. Like if I have a new order and say you only want to send the order header, you can put all the order header information in the platform event and you don't have to come back and query Salesforce. Whatever's receiving that platform event can take that data, consume it, and send it off to its destination. There aren't the same amount of field types. So I'm going to show you an example because I'm going to add another field to this platform event. I have Salesforce ID already, but let's go ahead and record the name. As you can see here, the list is a lot smaller than creating a regular custom field. They're basic field types. But I'm going to use text because I'm going to record the name. right? So we're just going to start typing name, just what we've already seen before. You can do up to 255 characters. And I'm just going to hit save. You can make fields required or not required in platform events as well. Right? So that's creating a platform event, just from a basic level. Now, the way that we're going to send these over to MuleSoft, the way that we're going to trigger the platform event is through a flow. And it's a flow that I've already created. I have it set to trigger on create for accounts, right? So when I create a new account, this thing is going to take the data from that record and it's going to generate a platform event. Right now, I already have the Salesforce ID added in there. I'm going to add my name field too.
Cool. So can you create these platform events from any flow, or is it a specific flow?
Good question, right? So a platform event is another record, right? So we want to keep in mind that before save flows, the only record that we can update are the record that triggered the flow, right?
Yeah, we go over that in the flows best practices video.
Is that another video? Yeah. So there's a lot of different places that you can do this. I've created platform events from screen flows. As you can see here, I'm doing an after save record triggered flow. If it's not going to hurt anything, I like to put it on an async path. Send it, right? Send it when I can. The more I can take things out of the execution context and keep myself from running into governor limits, the better. And on that same note, since we're talking about async flows, you can also do it on scheduled paths.
Cool. Great. That's awesome.
So I'm going to save this as a new version and go ahead and activate it. And then we're going to get out of Salesforce for a second. And I'm going to show you how to set it up in Mule. And then we'll bounce back here to create our new account. All right. So this is what we start off with. I already created a new project called PE Demo. This is our canvas. And I've already set up my Salesforce credentials. So when you first get in here, you have to add the Salesforce module in. But once you do, it's right here. And I'm going to select the replay one. I like the replay channel listener because it gives you a few more options than just subscribing to the channel. So it's already in here. Like I said, I already have my config set up. Let's see if it's already pulled the metadata. Cool, it has. There's my event right there. So we select the event, and we have a few different replay options. You have all, so it's just going to grab everything that I can when this thing runs from the last replay ID. That's the last replay ID that the Mule has processed, right? So let's say my integration went offline for some reason, or I stopped it. When I turn it back on, it's going to remember that last replay ID and grab all the platform events that have come after it.
So it's processing everything in order. So is
yes.
that the use case for the replay ID?
Yep. Platform events are also in a first in, first out. So they have a sequential incrementing order of the replay ID. Yeah. I can also enter in my own replay ID if I know it and do from replay ID. And then I can do only new. Only new is if I don't want to process anything while it was offline. If it doesn't matter, then forget about it. I like this one. I like the last replay ID. You never know when a target system is going to go down and I'm not able to send my platform event information to the target system. If I don't have a full successful execution, it's not going to record that new replay ID. So when the system does come back up and it's able to process, it's going to retry and it's going to continue through all of them, right? So we have it set up. I'm going to delete that. And we have it set up, and I'm going to set up a logger. I just want to show what the format of a platform event looks like.
Well, and what's the purpose of a logger?
So when I'm running things, especially here locally, or if I'm looking on any point, when I have something deployed, I can look in the logs or here in the console, and I can specify what I want to see from the payload.
It's pretty much a debug log for MuleSoft.
Yep,
cool.
For sure. Now I'm going to cheat because I already saved what I'm going to type in here so we can save some time. There. I'll put data weave. Right, so this is going to show me the payload. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save it. Of course, always save. And then we are going to just go ahead and run it. Yeah. It's going to take a second, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my account. I'm going to create that account because it's going to pick up the new platform event once it switches on. So let's create our new account. We'll just call it Demo 1.
Oh, that's boring.
All right. Epic platform.
Now we're talking.
Right, so we hit save, and if I go back, oh, it's still compiling. So what it's doing is it's creating a virtual machine on the computer, as if it was in any point, and it's setting up this app to run. So once it
Okay.
gets through all the compiling and starting up,
So do you think it's still going to pick up that platform event that we just
I
created?
do, because I set it as from last replay ID.
Ooh,
And
look at that.
whatever one I had saved before, or if the last replay ID doesn't exist in the Salesforce platform event bus, then it's not going to
That's
show
awesome.
up.
And there's our structure right there.
Yeah, you can see it. See, there's my name, Epic Platform Event. Now, I wanted to show this first because it's kind of important. It's very important. When you're doing in MuleSoft and you're trying to set up transformations or data manipulation, Salesforce doesn't get all of the metadata from that platform event. If I look at the source metadata, and I can go in here and I can show you what the fields are supposed to look like, it's not showing me anything in my payload, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I find it useful to do that so I can grab my structure from the payload and know what my field names are and how many levels down I need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's like
so
most people, like most clients, use this standard structure, right? They don't modify the structure at all.
No. So the only time you really want to modify the structure that I've found, I mean, I'm sure there's lots of different use cases, but if I were to use change data capture, which we'll cover on another video possibly, change data capture will send a platform. It'll look like a platform event, but it's only going to provide you the fields that changed. Now, what if I have an external ID, in the other system? Maybe I'm not saving the Salesforce ID in my target system, and I want to use their external IDs that I have saved in Salesforce. You can modify the change data capture, through using Postman through the tooling API, and add a field that's always going to be included in change data capture. So that's where you would modify the structure. Otherwise, the structure looks the same, and our custom fields will show up under the payload.
Awesome.
So let's add some more stuff to it, man. How about we do something where I want to update that account when the platform event triggers, and I want to change the name, right?
Okay.
So I'm going to go back into my Salesforce. I'm going to grab the update because I can update since I have my Salesforce ID in there, right? And then we have a new configuration in here. Let's see if it showed up. There it is. I'm going to update my account, right? And then I also want to bring in a transformation. Transformation is where I do all my data manipulation between one system and another. Now, I like to just kind of grab something and bring it in just so I can preload my structure, and whether I need it to be set up as an array or an object or anything like that. But this is going to be wrong, right? We know that our data structure is different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what I had in that other structure and add my custom field in there. And I always like to add what type I'm going to have, and then default a value, even though I know I'm always going to have a value in that ID field. Sometimes you work with systems that don't accept null values. And so if I don't put a default value and this comes in blank or null from Salesforce, it'll show up null in MuleSoft. You're going to run into all kinds of errors.
ID is different, but if like, say you're working with like an integer value, right?
Yep.
And if you didn't specify it as integer, would it read it as
It'll try to coerce it into the data type that it thinks it is. But if I want it to be string, here's a great example. I run into this all the time. If I have a number value that comes in, right, it's supposed to be 0, 1 from Salesforce, and MuleSoft thinks it's a number. It's gonna just like copying in a data load into Excel or numbers if you're on a Mac, and it takes off the leading zeros. It's going to do that in MuleSoft. Sometimes I need the leading zeros. Sometimes I'm dealing with pick lists in a database that have numbers on the back end, but labels on the front end, and those numbers are sometimes 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3. They're 2 digits. So you want to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And there's things. So you really want to know what your structure is in both tables, and then manipulate it that way.
Yeah. That makes sense. Cool.
Yep. Now remember, I'm going to change the name. Yeah. Yep. Here we go. And what do we want it to say? I think I had the field called name or underscore C.
Yep.
It is. Let's just make sure it's nice and identical.
Good old handy copy and paste.
It saves me every time.
Let's do
add string, and let's add
MuleSoft.
space and mule. Yeah, we'll just do mule. I like that.
Okay.
Right? And then other things to consider, right? Objects versus arrays. Salesforce's update needs an array, so that's why I added these brackets to the outside.
It's a collection.
If I went like, yep, it needs it. Even if it's got one record, it wants you to, the API wants you to send in a collection. So if I left it as just an object, then it would fail every time. So that was one of the reasons why I just dragged it in. Is MuleSoft is smart enough to say, hey, my target is requiring an array, and my source is just an object, so I need to convert it.
That's cool. Okay.
So many headaches. So I'm gonna hit save, and let's run it, and then we'll create a new account. And by the time we come back to it, it should be auto compiling. Cool. By the time we come back to it, we'll be able to see Salesforce get updated. We're going to look in the logs to make sure it came through, and then we'll come back here and see if it updated my name. Update my name, please.
Oh, you're so nice.
Yeah, it's not quite so epic as the last one, right?
Epic
Right?
name.
All right, cool. So I got update my name, please. And a lot of times while you're debugging, I'd like to add another logger afterwards so I can get Salesforce's response, whether something was successful or not. Here, I just pressed the I believe button, so I believe that it worked. Update my name, please, Mule.
It did work. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it totally worked. So yeah, like when I'm developing, if I had a lot more time, instead of us trying to squeeze this into a video, I would have added a logger after each step. And then another thing that you can do in Mule that I didn't really touch on too much is you can add breakpoints, right? So it's going to pause and let you look at the parameters that you have, what the payload looks like before you move on to the next step.
And is that just for like a debugging tactic, or making sure that like your code is compiling correctly? And
if I'm doing something a little more complex in my transform here, where I'm having it try to force a regex, or doing a max size number of characters, or converting that number to a string, and I want to make sure that number, that leading zero, didn't get dropped first, and I don't want to wait for it to compile, run through the whole process, and start all over again. I can do breakpoints. And
wait, you mean it gets more complex than just basic name changes in the real world?
For sure, right? yeah, there's so much fun stuff that you can do.
Is there anything else you want to show us today?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I just wanted to show the basics of platform events and how to set it up, and just how the heck you get the data out of the platform events. I found when I did this the first time, there actually wasn't a lot online or great examples. So hopefully this helps somebody else out so they don't have to search for hours like I did.
Perfect. I'm sure we'll do a few more Mule videos in the future. But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll be back next week.